Hello and welcome to the Behind the Screens podcast, a unique look at the people behind the content you consume, exploring the highs and lows of content creation and what it takes to make it as an influencer. Today, we're joined by Abby Boom, Australian content creator, comedian and queen of the keg room.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the podcast, Abby. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I was better before I heard comedian. Because
wannabe comedian, maybe.
No, God, no. But yeah, and queen of the keg room. I am queen of the keg room. Thank you for recognizing my title. Thank you for having me. Great to be here. Well, I'm sure I'm going to throw up for your audiences with the accent, but we'll see.
Yes. Well, we are going to put subtitles on, so
yeah,
we'll be fine with that. But I guess, okay, so queen of the keg room works, comedian doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
60 seconds then, who is Abby Boom?
I am a Lebanese, Kiwi, Australian chick who used to tell some dad jokes online, take some shots, have big reactions to things, and wears low-cut tops. That's pretty much me in a nutshell, I think. I don't know really what else there is about me to know.
Well, which of the four do you think helped your rise the most?
Look, I'd love to say it's the big reactions, but I think that would be lying to everyone. I do think the low-cut tops, unfortunately, will forever be my staple. I'm very concerned when gravity starts to take effect, I'll be honest.
Excellent. Well, let's go back to the start then. Abby, like the you as a person that's got to where you are now, we're going to go before content, before you were appearing in anything online. Tell us about you growing up and what you think's made you the person you are. Who was Abby when she was young?
Okay. Growing up, I was not cool. I was not very likable. And you know what? I've watched some home movies recently from when I was a kid, and I think that was fair. I think I was real annoying, so super valid. But yeah, I was very big on consuming media in any form, but I was a big reader as a kid, so loved to read any and everything. Probably still a big part of who I am. I think a lot of my personality is actually crafted off of characters I read in books, and also characters from TV shows that I watched. I listened to audiobooks, read a lot. So shocking I didn't have friends, I know. But yeah, so that was kind of a lot of my younger years was spent with my head in a book. And then I started to really love television and was obsessed with the TV show Friends for most of my, I would say, like young adult years, from about 8 until 16, maybe even younger. I was obsessed with the TV show Friends to the point where
Favorite character?
Oh, don't do that to me. It's so hard because it's like,
choosing a favourite child.
Yeah, but it's harder because everyone has a favourite child. You can't pick between. I want to say Chandler because I think he was probably one of the most relatable characters. Yeah. But then the man also married Courtney Cox in the show. So you're like, you used to be relatable. No, you suck. But, he was just very witty and charming in his own merit and very sarcastic. I think he was great. R.I.P. Yeah, that was really sad. Anyway, but yes, I think that very much crafted me as a young person, and I wanted to be an actor because of watching TV and seeing these characters come to life. And funnily enough, my parents still say that when I was like 6, I asked like what the magic box was and how these people were in it, and they told me that it was like actors, and I had wanted to be an actor ever since then. Like it was that instantaneous, yeah. So that was pretty much the shape of my entire life up until a year and a half ago was to be an actor, which it still is, to be fair.
So what happened a year and a half ago then, for those that are not indoctrinated?
Indoctrinated, okay. Bit serious.
Let's go through the lore, L-O-R-E, of Abby. What happened?
I didn't think you were telling them about my legal requirements, but thank you.
Now that you're in the country, they've changed.
The law is, so basically about a year and a half ago, I got a random phone call from a friend of a friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine, and she was basically like, hey, this guy that's an old friend of hers, she was like, he wants to do this YouTube video thing. He wanted me to get some people with big personalities, and I immediately thought of you. I was like, thanks. That's so nice of you. And so I went in, and all that I was kind of told was that it was just this weird kind of studio shoot day to bring in some dad jokes and that I would be drinking.
Can
And I
you
was like,
remember
cool.
any of your dad jokes from the first episode?
I think it's from my first episode, but it was the only one that I wrote because at the time you could just rip ones off the internet. But I think, which I don't know if it even makes sense here, but it's a very Australian thing. You might have to cut this. But basically it was like, funnily enough, back to books. It was like, did I tell you I used to work in the library? One day I was just in there like working at the shelves and this guy came in and asked me to shelve something. You should have seen the look on his face when I shoved it up my ass. And I'm like, I don't know if you guys know what shelving is here.
No.
So shelving, for those who don't know, in Australia, it means shoving drugs up your ass.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a very niche Australian joke, but yeah, it was weird. It was a weird day. I had no idea of what I was doing apart from telling dad jokes. I knew Sam, who was also on it, and Matt. I knew them previously. I've known them for years, but I walked in. They weren't there yet because they were always late. And it was these two people sitting at this table, and I was just sitting at the end, kind of minding my own business, not really talking, and I overheard them talking about the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and I realised that these were two stand-up comedians.
No pressure.
No, it's fine. One of them had just been nominated as Best Newcomer at the festival, and I'm sitting there being like, I don't know if my shelving joke's going to be good. But yeah, so that was kind of wild and a very weird experience because, like I said, didn't know them, and then more comedians started coming in, didn't know them either. And then Matt and Sam got there, and I kind of felt a little bit more comfortable. But then, yeah, left that. And then it was weird as well because it wasn't just that on the day. Like, we didn't just shoot those videos. We also shot reacting to controversial YouTube ads.
Did they ever see the light of day?
No. And you know what? Thank God for that because I was so drunk by the time we got to that. Because since that has started to, since we started doing more of that, we started watering down the alcohol because we were getting quite drunk, but at the time we weren't. So me and Matt drank almost an entire bottle of Fireball in about half an hour.
They could have been some long shoot days.
I was so drunk, and then we had to react to these videos, and I went on like a full feminist rant about one of them. It was wild. So no, those never saw the light of day, shockingly.
Well, it's a good job there's only water in that cup today, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the best for all of us. You don't want to know what I might say if that wasn't water.
Excellent. So it's been a long ride and an interesting one since then.
Oh, yes.
We'll get on to more of what's kind of happened since, but in terms of good times and good memories, are there any specific moments when you're on Yeah Mad that stand out? Any really good times?
A lot of them. I think that, whatever has occurred since then, which I'm sure we'll get into, but being on that channel was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Like the first shoot even, I didn't know these, like I said, I didn't know half of these people, but it was so fun. I laughed so much, and only a little bit because of the alcohol. The rest of it was they were actually funny. And then as we progressed...
They were the best newcomers in
Yeah,
Sydney.
I mean, only one of them, only Ammo. The rest of them... But as it progressed and, there was a lot of fun on those shoot days. There was never a point on a shoot where it was a horrible day. Things might happen, you're running behind schedule, all of that. But we would all just be out the back in the alleyway or whatever, just shooting shit and having a great time. It was so much fun. And it was the people, especially the friends that I now consider some of my close friends. I love stand-up comedy, right? I'm not a stand-up comedian. That is not my role, but I do love to watch it. And having friends who are stand-up comedians now is a crazy experience because, I don't know, I've been following stand-up comedy for so long. And having these people in my life makes it so much more fun. Because I think through them, I see how much more seriously I take myself than I need to. Right. And so watching them just be life is not that serious is actually really...
a good outlet to have.
Yeah, it's so much fun, yeah.
Nice. So we'll try and just leave this bit at the start. We'll cover this. So obviously things have happened, things have changed. Is there anything you want to talk about in terms of the kind of exit from Yeah Mad?
I think the biggest thing to me is that I still love Matt and Saf so much. There has definitely been a lot of this drama built up by the audience, which is fair enough. I think it made it real that we were public figures, and it made it so much more real that we were public figures who had been involved in quote unquote drama. Mm-hmm. And so obviously people, and they weren't given a lot of info. So like, obviously the audience is going to build that up and trying to grasp at straws. Yep. But I think the biggest thing that I can't speak for everyone, but I want people to know is that like, there's still so much love there. Like Matt and Seth, like the thing is you have to look at like, we all went through this together. We all went into the studio thinking we were telling some dad jokes and came out of it as people that are recognized on the street. So you can only really understand each other's experience.
Of course.
So, you know, I posted a photo on my story of me and Matt at a birthday a couple weeks ago, and like the fans were rejoiced. Like they were so happy, and I didn't realize how much they thought there was like animosity there. And I was like, no, we still have so much love there. So whatever is occurring behind the scenes and with the, you know, all of the drama and whatever that may be occurring, the biggest thing is like, we still all love each other, and that's not changing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And you can hang on to all the great memories from when you were together. You mentioned about the fans. This is one of the things I've enjoyed out of this experience, is seeing not just some of the conspiracy theories, some of the opinions, just everything, because there was a lot of unknown throughout a lot of it. Is there one or two things that maybe fans have tried to guess or have thought that you just think is absolutely hilarious, so far off the mark, or any crazy comments that they've pulled out?
Yes. There's so many crazy comments, and like, I think, you know, there's a lot of speculation, like you said. There hasn't been a lot of info, or there's only been like, people have perceived only one side of the story, and like, you know, that people read into that however they will. They either think that like, we're staying silent because we don't want to be viewed as one way or the other, and the reality of it is like, we just don't want to start the next step with drama. Like, we just want to be standing on our own 2 feet. But it has been really funny. Like, the amount of people that think that like, there's so much more bad blood than there is, or like that, you know, we must have had screaming matches or like big arguments or all of this. And it's like, it's not as big as they think it is. And it's just so wild, because it's like, okay, imagine you like leave a job, like an office job or whatever, 9 to 5. You leave a job and maybe you leave on not the greatest terms, or, you know, you and the boss are just kind of like, oh, whatever, or like, you know, but you leave it. Now imagine that, but it's like the entire world is like, oh my God, why did you leave? Or like, oh my God, they must have left because the boss, you know, broke a contract or fired them, and you're like, whoa, I just like, this is...
Everyone jumps to 100, don't they?
Yeah, and you're like, I don't, like, that's so crazy to think about, and to see that people are so involved in it.
It's a good thing too,
Oh,
isn't it? Because they
massively
really
good.
care, they're really passionate, they've grown so close to you guys over the years.
I think that's one thing I definitely took from like the departures, as they're called, and like the change is like seeing how much our fans love us and like are so keen to see what we're doing next. And like, you know, you see it because you see the followers and you see the subscribers, but actually seeing the fans, like,
sentiment as well.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, there's someone out there who has a Yeah Mad tattoo.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it is not that far removed from someone that I work with. Literally.
Crazy. Love that.
Crazy. Like, it's a friend of mine's tattoo artist.
Wow.
And I was like, this is just...
Have you met them?
No, but like, I've DM'd them and stuff, but it's just like... So, and like, sweet human that he is, he was like, let me know what the new channel's called and I'll get that logo as well. And I was like, God, you're adorable.
Love
like,
it.
But, you know, you see that and you go, whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mad. And that's just a testament to what you've all built. And then you mentioned new channel. Firstly, it's a testament of what's to come. But what can you talk about it now? Because obviously we're recording middle of August. What are you able to share at the moment?
So for those who don't know, because I did post a story being like, cat's out of the bag, we're filming for the new channel, but some people might have missed that. So we are making a new channel, the 5 of us. So it is Sam, me, Alan, Akila, and Andrew. We have been filming, obviously not currently because I am in London, but up until I came here, we have been filming for the past couple of weeks, past couple of months really, getting everything ready to go. The hope is to launch it early to mid-September, so keep your eyes peeled. And I hope it's what everyone all the fans said that they loved the most was our banter and like our relationship. Because the best way I kind of describe it is like, you know, in the Breakfast Club when they do the whole like, it's a jock, it's it's kind of that vibe where it's like, it's a criminal. It's like a you know, kind of weird.
Careful what you say.
Yeah, no, I'm really carefully treading over these words. Kind of like weird, quirky comedian, like, you know, witty comedian who's like, and then
Are these descriptions very different off air?
yes,
Yeah.
so different off
Thought
air,
so.
but I'm being so careful.
Politically correct.
Yeah. And then like, you know, two people that are not stand-up comedians who wanted to be actors, and like those five, you look at that and you go, that shouldn't work. Like that is the weirdest group of people.
And that's sometimes the best, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
there's no other way that you would be put together in a group. You'd be in a room, but all these different personalities. And it feels like you all bring firstly the crazy, but also the best parts out of each other.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the best in terms of what you typically say is a good person trait, because anyone that's watched the content doesn't necessarily, but it's all in love, and you know, you guys all love each other, but you do bring just the best humour out of each other because it's kind of shackles off and you get to just be
It's a
who you
really
are.
funny nod that we're not going to talk about, but when you guys come back to this after some of our content's been released, and you might
There you
see
go.
that clued
Little
in.
Easter egg.
Yeah, a little Easter egg right there. Go on through.
So you guys feel like there's still, you know, a bit of a story to tell. There's something new you guys can do, and a fun approach. So is there any tidbits of what's to come that you're able to talk about?
So yeah, we basically were like, we all love working together. Like, you know, the five of us, obviously there is kind of more that we would love to have in the group, but currently it is just the five of us. And, you know, we had so much fun working on it together that we were like, fuck it, let's keep going. So we got together, and it's taken us a long time to get it up and running because it, you know, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but it's different. It's not going to be dad jokes. Sorry to disappoint all the viewers out there, but we're not doing dad jokes as a rule. But I think it's just that like energy of us all together. I will say there is a few shoots that we did. I don't think I've laughed that hard in my life. I was in tears, like genuinely tears, laughing so hard. I experienced some stuff that I never hope to experience again.
All safe for YouTube as well. So
Yeah.
minds can run wild as to what this could
Yeah,
do.
definitely safe for YouTube to an extent. But yeah, there was definitely some moments where I was like, this is not what I thought we were going to be doing. But it was so much fun. And I think it really made us realize like how much more we can do. And we are already doing, like we already have plans for the next shoots that we're going to do when I'm back. And like there's a lot more to come. And it is just, it's been fucking fun, dude. It's been so much fun.
Nice.
That like I literally would leave studios and just like we'd be messaging in our group chat and I'd be like, guys, today was fucking great. Like we had so much fun. We were just doing like the stupidest things. Like,
And that's what it's all about. isn't
yeah.
it?
And like, look, some of the concepts might not work, and we're okay with that because we're like, that was
You're having
funny,
fun
though.
doing it.
Like, yeah. I don't want to give away too much, but if anyone's noticed Alan Feng's eyebrow missing, that does have a story to tell, or the Instagram reel on my Instagram, that will have a story behind it eventually. I don't know when that video is dropping, but there is a reason for it. So that's some, I guess, tidbits for you guys.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's all great. And this is, we've got a bit of time now to get excited about that. It's going to come hopefully soon. But now let's talk more about just you.
Oh, God. Yes.
So, you kind of exploded overnight. You went from somebody who, you weren't pursuing content creation, you weren't pursuing that world, to people fell in love with you. They wanted to find out more about what you were doing. No, come on, don't be too humble.
No, I'm not being humble. I think, not to stop you halfway through the story, but it is really important to note that I was hated at first.
Very true.
I was hated.
You had a lot of hate followers.
No, to the point where I almost was not brought back into the second year Mad video I was in.
Wow.
I was almost not invited back. Actually, they did a shoot without me. And then I was invited back to the third one. Because I was hated. And again, this is just to tell you how quickly the internet can change its tune. Because first video, no one liked me. Like the audience was adamant that I was not to be there. And then the second video I was in, suddenly the tides have changed. So
as someone who's always wanted to be an actor, that's surely the ultimate redemption arc then. You've gone from the villain to, genuinely, you've over 1 million followers now across all your platforms. Without trying, as in you've obviously put in a lot of work now and you're doing a lot of cool stuff, but you didn't actively seek that. It's then happened overnight. How was it? Like, when was the first moment you realised, firstly, like people really knew you?
So funnily enough, I was thinking the other day, I was like, because Hamo wrote a book. I swear I'm getting to the point. But Hamo wrote a book and I was like, oh, maybe I should write a book. I don't have anything to write a book about. But I was like, it could be called like The Year I Was Famous, because it did genuinely feel like that. It did feel like you said, overnight. And like there were dribs and drabs of it that I kind of felt as it started to get bigger. Like I didn't know that we'd gone viral. And then someone, like one of the people in the group told me and I was like, what? And then we continued to go viral. And then I still, funnily enough, hadn't told anyone in my life.
Really?
So like all that I had said was I was filming this YouTube video. I never told anyone that we had gone viral, like no one. And then suddenly I was at work because I do still have a job. So I was at work as I manage a pub in Sydney. And one of my bartenders was in the cellar and I was like walking past him. And mind you, I'd only known him a couple of weeks. And then he goes, hey, Abby. And I go, yeah. He's like, what, like, I don't know, what does an orange say when it's peeled or something? One of the jokes that went like first viral, right? That I was in. And I was like,
oh no.
I literally looked at him and I went, where did you hear that? And he was like, it was on my TikTok For You page. And I was like, okay.
That's when you're in danger.
I literally was like, no, it's fine. It's just one bartender. I have like 30 staff. I'm sure no one knows. And then over the span of the next 2 days, different people were coming up to me at work being like, hey, Abby. And I was like, oh no. So that was like kind of the initial point where I was like, wait, what? But then I was like, it's just a viral clip. Like clips go viral all the time.
Yeah.
They die off. It's fine. And then I got recognized at work, like by a patron. It was like the first time and it was just very like nonchalant, just like, oh, are you that chick? And I was like, yeah. And then that kind of was crazy. And then it just kept happening. It kept getting more and more like people coming up at work and, you know, just out on the street. And then, I don't know, I think like it still hasn't really hit me, if I'm being honest. I think it still hasn't made me properly realize like how much my life is different now. Like there's little things that happen, like being able to come here. Like that, I was saving my whole life for this, but being able to just do it and come here and be like, yep, like that.
Throw yourself into it.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then just, I don't know, seeing like people that I know from a past life or whatever come up and be like, oh yeah, like I saw that video of you. And I was like, what the hell? Like it's kind of weird. Yeah.
Was there a moment then, like obviously you said the first person in the bar recognized you and things like that. Was there a moment where you kind of felt different? Like you become this person? Like, was there a switch that kind of went off?
I don't think I've switched yet. I would hope I haven't. For the sake of like, I don't ever want to lose the like reality of my life. And as much as my life continues to change, I don't ever want to feel like I'm not being me in it. Like, and I will say that a big testament to that is my friends. Like my friends will be like, hey, pull your fucking head in. Like if I ever were to go around being like, oh, I've got this, they'll be like, okay, cool, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
And they do
Keep
that.
you grounded.
And they already do that. Like, and I love them for that because I never want to become that person. In regards to like a moment where I was just kind of like, oh, is this real? Is we all went out, like literally a year ago in like July last year to watch Alan perform at a comedy show. And we were sitting at a bar beforehand and it was like the 6 of us. And a guy came up, but I had gone to the bar and so I was like not at the table. And then I returned and all I could see was like the guy who ran the channel was standing up taking a photo. And I thought he was taking a photo of of the group. And I was like, oh, why are we doing this? And then as I got closer, I said that out loud. And then as I got closer, I realized there was a fan sitting at the table taking a photo. And I went, oh.
He must have thought you were
And
lovely.
I quickly tried to be like, no, I thought he was I'm so, and then, so that moment I feel like sticks out because it was just the first moment.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah.
Nice. So you say about how like you're very grounded, you try to be the same you. We always ask do you think there's an online you and an offline you? I think maybe for you, the question is more, do you think there's a perception online of you that's different to the real you? And how is it different?
Yeah, I'm not promiscuous, guys. I'm actually a virgin. No, I think that absolutely is a part of it, is like this nature of like, oh, she wears low cut tops, so she must be a slut. And it's like, that's not how that works. But also I think that is very much a caricature that was created by us. Like it wasn't,
Of course.
it wasn't like I ever was like, no, don't paint me that way. Like I think it very much was like steering into it. Okay. And like, because we were so close, we would poke fun at each other, and the jokes that were made at my expense were often about my promiscuity. So I think that's fine, and I'm very much okay with that. But I do think one thing I get a lot, actually, very funnily enough, is when people meet me, I get probably 2 comments the most, apart from like, are you that chick? And one of them is, I didn't realize you'd be that short.
Right.
People often think I'd be a lot taller, which is quite funny. And then the other thing is like, after fine-tuning the language, I'm realizing that a lot of what people have said is that they didn't realize I'd be approachable.
Right.
Which is
okay.
quite an interesting way of phrasing it. But I think it's
Other
just...
than when you've gone to the bar and someone's getting pictures taken.
Yeah.
That's when you're
yeah,
not approachable.
that one time I will give that. I didn't seem approachable. But yeah, I think that a lot of people have this perception that I'm quite like, I don't know, like standoffish maybe,
right.
or just a little bit guarded. I don't know. But yeah, pretty much every interaction I've had, people have been like, didn't think you'd be approachable. And you know what? After the 10th time, it hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that will be the same now that you guys have more of a control over the content that's going to be going out? Do you think that people's perceptions are going to be any different on any of you, really?
Yes and no. I think that people are going to see the caring side of me a little bit more. But also, I'm going to be honest, in some of the content we shot, I don't think I come off
You're going to come
great.
across worse.
There was just a few points when I yelled at the boys, and I'm hoping that people will watch it and be like, you know what, valid, because sometimes they need to be yelled at. But yeah, no, I definitely think it will shift a little, and I think that'll be the case for all of us. I think seeing a more rounded version of us in this, rather than just like a 20-minute video of us telling jokes, I hope will give them a better understanding of who we are.
Nice.
For sure.
Nice. So the numbers started to fly up. The followers came in. When did you start to think, like, my Instagram, this isn't just me posting pictures anymore. When did you start to feel like you needed to create content and actually almost be an influencer, quote unquote? And we'll come on to that word in a minute. But yeah, what was that moment when you started to feel like you needed to create content for people?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I think there was definitely like voices around me being like, you need to post more, because I wasn't posting.
Was I one of those voices?
Yes. But even previous to you, there was definitely people being like, there's no understanding of who you are online.
Yeah.
Like you don't really, I think, when I blew up, I had like maybe 20 or 30 posts on Instagram. Like I really didn't have that much. Yeah. So there was definitely an element of that. There was definitely a few moments where I was like, oh, this is a thing now. Like, and this is not to negate from any level of following that people have, because look at me. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So like, I'm not someone to sit here and be like, you only have like 200,000 followers. No, like that's great. That's crazy. Any amount of followers is fantastic, especially in this day and age. Like you could have, be like a micro influencer where it's like 10,000 followers, but you could be making bank and being really active, and you can be someone with 1 million followers and be doing very little with it. Like there's nothing to either side of it. But it is a bit interesting because it's like, I had friends, and I have like in the job that I work, like I have friends who are in the entertainment industry and like DJs and stuff. So they have like 10,000, 20,000 followers. So when I started to creep up to that, I was like, whoa, this is weird. And then I remember so vividly having a conversation with someone at work, one of my colleagues, and I was like, oh, like this is kind of wild. Like the amount of people that I have following me. I think at that point I had like 30,000 or 40,000. And I was like, the people that I have following me, like that's like a stadium or an arena. It was one of the two, whichever's smaller. And he was like, oh no, like, you're not, he said something about like, you're not a proper like influencer or like with a proper following until you have enough to fill like a stadium. And I was like, well, how many? And we looked up what the biggest stadium in the world can fit.
Yeah.
And it was like 95,000 or 100,000. And I was like, mark my words.
I feel like when you hit the 100K,
Yeah.
that's the one where it's like,
it was crazy.
this is real.
But I feel like for most people, it's like, I've just got 100,000 followers. And for me, I was like, oh my God, I can fill a stadium. Like, such a weird niche thing to be excited about. Mainly, it was just to prove to this guy wrong, because that's my favorite thing to do.
And
but
how quick did that happen after that conversation? Can't have been long.
it wasn't, like, looking back, it probably wasn't that long. But it was really weird because I feel like from, say, 10K to 100K took a while. And then from 100K to like 200K took a while. And then 200 plus, it just jumped. Like, there were points where I was like, how does this happen?
Do you think that was because you were more actively posting rather than people just finding you? You're now creating content, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was like, I had a few TikToks and Instagram Reels go viral. Just like, it's just never what you expect. It's never like, oh, I've put time and energy into this and planned this for the last week, and like it gets not that many views. And then you go, hey, I'm getting my hair cut. Let me take a video. And it gets 11 million views. And you're like, why?
Well, I think that the funniest one for me, 7 million views in the keg room.
Yeah.
Well, how has that happened?
I
Not to
don't
denigrate
know.
your content. Like, you've moved some kegs around.
They're empty as
7
well.
million.
Like, there wasn't even like, oh, look at me, I'm a strong lady, and lifting like 65 kilo kegs. They're empty kegs. They weigh like 15 kilos. Like, I don't know. And it wasn't even like, that literally was one video that I was responding to a comment, and I was like, oh, I'll show them
I'll
my
do
job.
some more of this.
And then it just happened, and I went, what the hell? So like,
crazy.
those kind of things happen, and it's such a scary, not scary, but it's just such a wild thing, because you're like, I don't know how to replicate that.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Like, that's social media in a nutshell. And I was going to ask a little bit more about platforms. And, like, this, I know your absolute expertise is algorithms and, you know, the real deep dive into content.
I didn't know there was a hold function on Instagram stories until 3 days ago.
Excellent.
You know the button that you press so that you don't have to hold your camera whilst you're filming? Didn't know about it till 3 days ago.
Over 1 million followers across platforms now.
Yep.
But, so this is what I find really interesting with your content, because you kind of, like, Instagram is a little bit more kind of not presentable, because that makes it sound like the rest of your content isn't, but it's a little bit more polished, like nice looking content. YouTube, you're trying to now, like, you're doing some really cool stuff on YouTube. It's more of a narrative. TikTok, it's either unhinged stories or just like you start recording and see what happens, and people love it. So, like, why do you think like that works on TikTok and not anywhere else? Like,
I guess I have like two thoughts on this, which is like, that's it, two thoughts. The rest of my head is empty.
that's more than I expected we get from platforms, so that's great.
Yeah, this is so true. No, I think one of them is like really early on, and this might have been you, so if it is, bad you. But early on, I remember being told like to kind of differentiate between TikTok and Instagram. And like, that's super fair enough, because there is a very different audience. And like, even it's weird as I'm talking about it, because I'm like, wait, do I know things? Probably not. Probably wrong. But like, I feel like on TikTok, in a weird way, people go there to get a little bit more of an entertainment, crazy, kind of chaotic vibe. Whereas on Instagram Reels, people do kind of go and be like, it's either like skit style, or it's a little bit more like tailored, and, you know, a little bit more work has been put in. Whereas definitely on TikTok, it's like, yes, those skits do well, but also just rambling to a camera does well. And so I think when I was differentiating between what I was posting on Instagram and TikTok, I was like, these will do well on TikTok. I didn't even think they'd do well. I was just like, this is something that I feel more comfortable posting on TikTok. And also I think I had a lot less followers on TikTok at the time. Like, in the last couple months, my TikTok following has grown a lot. Yeah. But before that, it was like, I think I had like 200,000 compared to like 600,000 on Instagram. So I felt a little bit more comfortable posting to that audience. And so I would just be like, hey, I have no point to this video except look at how cute my dog looks in this jacket. And that is literally a video I made.
I find it, like, that side of things even funnier when you think, so that, well, I keep going back to it, but the keg video, the first one, it was 7.4 million views. I'd love to know how many are familiar with you and how many, just the thought of 4 million people just scrolling and seeing you moving some kegs around and going, yeah, I'll watch this. Like, what's happened there? But it's people they loved that. They love seeing that side of you. And that all came because people didn't realize that you even, like, you worked alongside what you were doing. But there's 7.4 million people suddenly are now just watching you do your job.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. That's going to give me a complex. But I genuinely, I didn't think about the fact that, like, there are people watching that who don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Like, there is, I guess, a degree of it that I still think people only know me from this. And, like, most of them do. I'm not negating that at all. Like, most of my audience is from Yeah Mad. And that's fantastic. And I am so appreciative of that. But I didn't think about the fact that as I've been off it for almost 6 months, and I'm still growing, there is clearly an audience that's coming from other areas.
Discovery.
And that's weird, because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what were they thinking? They literally were just like, why am I watching a chick throw kegs around?
Do you know what? I feel like we need to see, maybe we'll put it on the screen at some point after, but I feel like we need to see the percentage of followed versus not followed on that video. Because, there's going to be like 7 million that don't follow you.
That's fucking
Which
crazy.
is brilliant.
That's so crazy.
So
Yeah.
when you started to you started to think about the content you were doing rather than just, posting pictures on Instagram, etc. You started to, plan content and be mindful of, I'm doing something here today. I should make something out of it. Did you feel like nervous or weird about creating your own content? Did you feel like it was just something different because you're now doing it, or did it just feel natural?
It definitely didn't feel natural.
No.
Not at all. I think I had an experience with a friend who kind of, I guess, put it quite well in a weird way, but it's like, I was never really someone who was on social media a lot. Like, I was not someone who, when I would go out with friends, I had to take videos and photos. I was just not that person. I was very much like, I like to be present with the people that I'm around. And so I was like, I didn't care about filming it. I didn't care about, like, even, before all the social media stuff, I never cared about, like, oh, I need to take a photo for this because I need to change my profile picture on Facebook or whatever. Like, my profile picture on Facebook currently is from 5 years ago. Like, I just am not that person. Yeah. So, it was a really weird jump to be like, oh, I want to go out and go to my mate's birthday, but I also feel like this could be really good content, and so I need to make something of it. And a friend of mine did say, he was like, you used to be really present and now you're like on your phone a lot. But what was quite interesting was how quickly he realized that I wasn't not present because of that. I was just filming, and I try to be very careful about, like, I'll film little snippets throughout the night, but that never takes away from me being a part of it and enjoying myself. But it definitely changed the way I view things, and kind of realizing that, like, everything is content nowadays. Like, everything that you do can be
if you frame it in the right way.
Absolutely.
So then you say about some people at first thinking, like, you're not present. Those are your friends that aren't even in kind of any of the entertainment world. What did they say? Like, what did they think when this following came?
I think my friends, like I said, I have, like, incredibly amazing friends across all areas of my life. Like, I have my friends that I've made through work, friends from, 7 years ago. I have, like, quite a few different groups of friends, and all of them have, because everyone in my life has always known that I wanted to be an actor. So the idea of being in the public eye was never like a shock that they knew I wanted it, but not necessarily to be in the public eye, but it's a fallout of being an actor. But to actually experience it, I think has been quite weird for everyone in my life. From my friends at work who have just, like, been at the bar when someone's come up and, like, at first it was, like, here and there, and sometimes they would be like, oh, I don't know if this is actually happening to you. And then to now, where there's probably not a person in my life who hasn't experienced that. And I think the biggest thing for them is, like, you're still you, though. Like, it's not like, oh, this has changed the way you are with us. Like, you still, like, I'm a big oversharer, right? I don't know if you know this.
I may have worked that out.
Yeah, shocking, I know. But I'm a big oversharer. I like to tell stories about my life and the people around me, and I don't believe in telling filtered versions of stories. I'm like, hey, this is what actually happened, and I may have, gotten rejected, or but I don't believe in, like, cutting that out of the story. And that hasn't changed. And I think that that's been really important to me, is, like, I don't want to tailor myself because of concerns of how this may be viewed, or like what might get out. Like, that comes back to, like, trusting the people I'm around and being like, I can tell you this story knowing that it's not going to get leaked on the internet
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment. I think the biggest adjustment, weirdly enough, has been probably for like my family, because my parents are a bit older, so
Yeah.
they don't understand social media. Like my parents are in their late 60s,
Right.
so they don't understand social media. My dad still alarmed by basic technology. The other day he got excited because he found out that you can microwave a pie. Like, I'm not kidding. So they have no concept of what
concept
this
at all,
means.
yeah.
And my dad owns a business, and the other day one of his workers was like, "Oh, I need to show you this funny video," and it was of me.
Really?
And my dad was like, "That's my daughter," and it was just like such a wild
Must be
experience.
so surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think for them, it's kind of a little bit like, what is going on?
Do you know if he's like, what has he watched any of the videos?
Yeah, no, he was
that
like,
he's
I love their channel. I love
brilliant.
her. Like, and then, yeah, it was like, oh, like, my daughters and I watched the videos together. And my dad was like, and then he ran into the worker again the other day and he was like, how's your daughter doing? I hear
that's
she's
nice.
going to Europe, like knowing this stuff about my life. And my dad's just like,
How do you know
yeah.
that?
So I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
crazy.
quite crazy.
Yeah, mad. So my next question, and I ask everyone this, but I feel like for some reason the way it's going to be framed to you is going to sound weird.
I'm
The question
excited
is,
to hear this. Yeah.
what is it you're trying to achieve with your content? And now some people come back and they say, I want to try and inspire someone to do this. What is it you're trying to achieve with your content? Is
Don't really
is
know.
it to entertain? Is it just to have
It's definitely
fun?
not to entertain. I've watched my content. I know that's not the purpose. I think, it's such a, like, I think on surface level, it is literally just like, I'm trying to have fun.
Yeah.
And like, I think a little part of it is like to show people who I really am versus this like maybe perceived version that they have of me. But I also think like a big part of it is like just, I guess, okay, this is a little bit of a tangent and I'm sorry, but there is a purpose
tangents
to
are
it.
welcome.
So a long time ago, but like when this all started to happen and it started to blow up and my family, like my extended family, I have a lot of cousins and they were all seeing it and being like, hey dude, what the hell? And all my cousins are a lot older than me. So it was just a weird experience. But I found out that one of my cousin's children had seen some of the videos, the more family-friendly version, because she is 9, maybe 10 now. Anyway.
Terrifying
yeah.
to know that they can find that content.
But she had seen some of it with her mum and was like so excited because she was like, oh, that's my cousin. Like she's doing all this stuff and she's like big on social media. And then she bought some of our merch for her. Like my cousin bought some for her daughter for Christmas. And, I got this photo of like my 9-year-old cousin. And in a weird way, it was a weird time because it was when I was really receiving a lot of hate online. And it was a lot of like really, really targeted, like horrible stuff. And it was starting to get to me because I still wasn't really used to it yet. And I still hadn't been able to put up that, barrier, which I still struggle to, as we all do. But anyway, on a lighter note, like it was just really interesting, the timeline, because I just received this photo and I was like, that's crazy. Because like I'm seeing all of this hate and she's just seeing this and being like, that's my cousin. That's so cool. And
that's so nice.
yeah, it was crazy. And then it just kind of sparked something in me where I was like, look, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I talk a lot and I'm loud and I'm, quite chaotic and quite unashamed of who I am, and I'm opinionated and all of these things, and I kind of call it how I see it a little bit and not afraid to speak up. And that often was what I was getting hate for online. But receiving this photo and seeing my little, 9-year-old cousin who, she's quirky and she's loud and, she's like me, she's Arab, she's very like outspoken, and seeing that and knowing that she is viewing someone that she knows that looks like her and acts like her and is seeing that in a positive light, I was like, whoa, that
brilliant.
Made a big difference. So now I'm like, look, I know that a lot of my followers are male. I'm not disputing that. I see the stats. But even if it just shows like some people out there that like you can be loud and opinionated, you don't need to make yourself smaller to fit into other people's box of you. I think that's really important to me.
That is a brilliant answer.
Thank you.
And it's an answer I wasn't expecting. It's great. I love it.
Thanks.
The next question on my list, I feel like every previous answer, you're answering something that's teased me up perfectly for the next one.
With that in sync.
So you mentioned about the hate and a lot of the negative comments. I always ask how people deal with trolls. So firstly, talk us through it. What was there a moment that spiraled everybody kind of giving you stick, or was it just people maybe didn't get you at first?
I think it was kind of both. So there was definitely, at first, I think it was people didn't get me. They didn't understand the concept that much, that like you're trying not to laugh.
Right.
Even though that was tagged and very clearly said.
Try not to laugh.
People still were like, what's wrong with her? Why won't she just laugh? Like, why does she have to have a straight face all the time? Or like, come on, it's not that serious, like shit like that. And you're like,
that's the game.
I just don't want to do shots. So that was definitely at the beginning. I think I, again, was quite outspoken early on. Like there was never a point where people were like, oh, I wonder what her political associations are. I think pretty early on people were like, oh, feminist, got it. Ugh. Just repeating comments that I saw.
And with a 90-something% male audience, I can imagine some.
Yeah, it was not well received, which, funnily enough, it didn't really affect me that much. People being like, oh, she's such a feminist. I was like, okay.
So you're now getting to a point where you're getting involved with brands, you're doing work with brands. You've obviously, you've done some cool ad reads when you were with Mad, and now you're starting to establish your own space working with brands. I want to know, firstly, who is a dream brand? Who would you love to work with? Who would just fit you? Who would be great?
I think like an eyeliner, more specifically like a dip gel pot eyeliner, or realistically any eyeliner that is just easy to apply. I have been wearing winged eyeliner for over a decade now.
I feel like it's part of almost like your superhero costume.
It
like,
is.
You will not be seen without it.
It is literally, I don't just put on like mascara. It's like if I'm going to put on makeup, it is winged eyeliner and mascara. That is it. I don't wear face makeup. I don't do anything else. Just that. And I still struggle every day to get it right. And I have tried everything. I have used pens. I have used crayons. I have used dip. I've used every single style of eyeliner. Dip pot is the best one. However, you need the perfect brush. So that would be my like dream brand to work with. I don't have a brand in mind because I'm constantly finding
You're trying
new
to find
brands.
the one.
Yeah, literally.
So we need a brand to pitch to us.
Yeah, actually, this is them pitching
this is
to me.
Cooling Arms.
Yeah.
Come
You
show
think
us
you've
what
got the best gel dip pot eyeliner? Prove it. Let's go.
Abby will wear it in every piece of content.
Yeah.
If it ticks all the boxes.
If it ticks the box and it takes me less than 20 minutes to apply it and get it right, prove it. That's all I'm saying. So there's that. I definitely think would be great.
Okay, excellent. Well, my next question was going to be, is there a brand that you have like a really cool creative idea to work with? But that's a pretty good one.
It is.
But is there something you've always wanted to do, or an experience, or something that you've got a piece of content that
there is.
Work?
However, I'm worried that someone's going to steal my concept. Because it's kind of already been done anyway. But think of it like a mix of Amazing Race and like Jack Whitehall Travels with My Father and Hamish and Andy Gap Year and like
So when you
Survivor.
say you're worried about someone stealing your idea,
I'm doing a mix. Listen,
Okay.
okay, let me finish my content idea. So it's like a mix of all of that. And basically, one of my best friends is an Englishman, and he has traveled a lot of the world, and I have not. This is my first time coming here and doing Europe. And so I had the idea of him booking me a trip, and I don't know anything. Because you think, oh, that's cute, but like that's been done 1,000 times. Not the way he'd do it. That man would screw me over so hard. I can tell you right now, I would probably end up somewhere where I do not speak the language, where I have no ability to go anywhere, and it would involve him setting me challenges that I have to complete. So I think that could be a really fun, like, either like travel company collab or something like that, because I think it would be so entertaining. I also just don't think you guys are grasping how much this man would screw me over.
Well, I think given how you struggled with the lifts at London Victoria Station.
No, but okay, those bloody lifts, what the hell is wrong with you guys? One lift needs to go up and down. There is no need there is 6 lifts, and they all go to different...
I knew.
It took me 40 minutes to get from one floor to the bottom platform. I had to go through 3 different lifts. And not because it was like, oh, quirky and fun, because that was how many lifts I had to take to get from one. Stupid. Anyway, yeah.
So there goes the deal with Transport for London.
Oh, you
That's
guys
out
can
the
fuck
window.
off. I don't care. That was horrendous. That was genuinely the worst experience. I have been stranded in airports in countries where, like, when I was 16. That was still worse.
Wow.
Genuinely worse.
Excellent.
Do better. Or just create a lift that goes up and down like every other. Dude, take a page out of, what is it, the glass elevator from Willy Wonka. That one goes side to
smashed through the
side.
ceiling, though, did it not?
Yeah, we're not talking about the part. It goes side to side. We're not asking for that kind of technology. Just go up and down. That's all you need.
Well, talking about taking a page out of that book,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you next, on a lighter note,
You really riled me up with that.
what's your all-time favourite book?
No! Oh my God, okay.
I think you're about to explode in a minute.
Yeah, I am, because you riled me up and then you asked me this question, which is genuinely the hardest question in the world. So I cannot tell you my favorite book. What I can tell you is, based on the time of my life, what was the most important or
Sure.
influential books. So as a very young child, it was Enid Blyton's series, The Magic Faraway Tree. Whoa, I could not say that. The Magic Faraway Tree, The Enchanted Word, those books. As I got a bit older, it was the Percy Jackson books and the Cherub books. Don't know if you guys read Cherub over here, but I loved them. Someone's nodding, so someone knows it. Yes, it was not a big book series in Australia, but I loved them. It's about child spies. It's great. Then it was also, when I was younger, it was also The Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis.
I feel like we need to expand on that a little bit. Tell the story.
Okay, so basically I was obsessed with The Chronicles of Narnia growing up. And like I would have like a Discman and I would walk around, again, clearly had so many friends. I had a Discman that I was walking around listening to the audiobooks just at everywhere, all the time, if I didn't have a book on me as well. And anyway, when I was about 11 or 12, my parents did a renovation on our house and my sister got this beautiful room that had like scenic views and this massive room, and then I got the other room and they were like, well, you got the smaller room with no views and nothing, so what do you want? And I went, I want Narnia. And they went, that's a fictional place. And I went, you can do it. So they did. So they basically, in my wardrobe, they created a little cubby hole that you could like crawl through, and then it had like an attic that had like a full-on floor, little desk and all this stuff. But the best part was the cubby hole was like, had a door that was flush with the wall and it was hidden behind a row of like coats. So you actually couldn't see it unless you knew it was there.
Do you have pictures?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to put the pictures in.
Yeah.
Because I thought you've told me about this a couple of times. I don't think I've seen it. So.
I am pretty sure I still have videos from it when I,
Amazing.
but I will try and find it. What sucks is that fucking new owners of that house knocked it down.
Wow.
And I'm like, you dickhead,
Disgraceful.
that was so cool. But yeah. So Chronicles of Narnia, I can't talk. Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia, Enid Blyton, and then Cherub, and then one of the book characters that I genuinely attribute to probably a lot of my sass, which is Rose Hathaway from the Vampire Academy series, which was when I was a bit older. And then as an adult, I think two books that are so polar opposite, like genuinely couldn't be more opposite. But one is A Little Life, which is fantastic. Once you get past the fact that it's 750 pages, I swear it's good. It's brilliant. And then the other one is called The Flat Share, which is a little romance book that I loved. So yeah.
Excellent. Nice.
Goodreads. I would love to do a brand deal with Goodreads, just saying. Go on.
Okay. Excellent. Well, that was detailed. Love it. So, you wanted to be an actress. If you were to take yourself out of the whole entertainment world, if there was something, forget all of this ever happened, what would you have loved to have done? Is there anything else you would have aspired to do?
Yes. So, yeah, obviously I still want to be an actor, but if you're removing everything else, there were kind of two jobs that I wanted. One was to be a librarian, which I think surprises no one.
Very
at this
apt.
point. Yeah.
Yep.
And the other was a criminal psychologist.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
But-
yeah, I was really intrigued by forensic psychology. I was actually going to go to uni and study it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I found out how much uni that would take, and I went, no, thank you.
I'll stick to the books.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, the final question we ask everybody, if all of your internet footprint, your channels, everything you'd ever done just disappeared, how would you want you and what you've done to be remembered?
I guess I kind of said this, but I think the biggest thing is that I'd want people to remember me as someone who made people feel like it was okay to be themselves. Like, I have a friend who I constantly kind of reference this, but he is someone that doesn't matter who he meets, doesn't matter if they're like someone he's never met before, they immediately feel safe to be unashamedly themselves around him. And that is what I hope to like achieve. I want people to feel completely okay to be whoever they are and know that like there's always going to be a space for them somewhere.
Love that. Brilliant. Abby, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
pod.
you.
If you guys don't know Abby, you're not already familiar, we'll put all of her links and everything down below. Definitely go check her out. There's some very exciting stuff in the horizons as well, so keep your eyes peeled. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.